Another day and more censorship. Gotta love it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. Casey Hendrickson here. We are in the silverfoxart.com studios, and I'm going to be rotating this art out on a regular basis. Obviously, that's my logo. I've been keeping it up there on the wall for a little bit now, but we're going to bring in and showcase some of the other great pieces that I have from silverfoxart.com. And if you want to get some artwork taken care of, and it doesn't have to be like a logo or graphics or anything like that, it can be family photos. We've got family photos of pets and the kids and everything else on our walls, and a lot of people get their family photos done. When you see the Silver Fox Art commercial, you'll understand exactly what I mean. This is amazing wall art that is made with real wood, okay? It's not just a canvas print or something like that. This is wood. And it is full color, and they're able to be hung on walls. They have backlighting on them and RGB color options and everything else. Just a fantastic company to work for a truly, truly unique piece of wall art. Go to silverfoxart.com. For those of you who don't follow me on social media, I I had a video. I don't throw the word viral around easily because what is viral, right? For me, certainly it was viral, but there's a video on TikTok. I did a stitch in response to somebody. It was basically, just, hey, what is a fact that you found out that you wouldn't have believed, right, until you actually discovered that it was true. And so what I did is I took this opportunity to inform my TikTok audience and anybody that the video is going to be pushed to the platform on the For You page that, hey, just a friendly reminder, in 1976, the Center for Disease Control fabricated a pandemic that didn't exist. And they created 2 vaccines that were experimental. And they had people sign a waiver to get those vaccines. They then swapped the vaccines after people signed a waiver for the first vaccine for the second vaccine. There were massive amounts of serious side effects as a result of that. And it was all exposed by 60 Minutes in 1978. And so I've done it a couple of times, and people kind of get real curious about it because it's a story that I've done on my radio show before. I've done articles on it, and I posted the entire 60 Minutes piece on my website at theburningtruth.us. And so I did another one. It blew up. Last time I checked this morning, it had like 90,000 views, and it was still on fire at that point in time. TikTok took it down. So I'm so glad that I snatched it and saved it on the phone. It's on my Telegram right now. So if you're on Telegram, it's at Casey, the host, on Telegram. And go ahead and join my page on Telegram. And I put the video up there. I did just submit an appeal before we came on. I'm not surprised by this, okay? I'm not surprised. TikTok has removed a couple of my posts in the past. I fully expect them to censor me. I fully expect that. The point is, about 90,000 people got exposed to my stuff before they caught on. I added hundreds of new followers, okay? There were thousands and thousands of interactions. There were hundreds of comments. And the comments, again, a lot of young people like, hey, what is this? Tell us more about this. This is amazing. And people are, they're curious about this real piece of history. And this is something that's not up for debate or even involved with the current pandemic at all. And the entire point was that, hey, federal governments will lie to you if they have an agenda, just letting you know. And, but this is something that happened in 1976. It's well documented. All of the paperwork's in place. 60 Minutes in 1978 completely exposed this whole thing. It's a very real story, not a conspiracy theory or anything like that. So I fully do expect to get censored pretty much everywhere that I go. It's one of the reasons that I'm building the new social network and that sort of thing. So I'm appealing it. I'm sure that somebody was like, oh, they're lying about today's pandemic. I wasn't lying about today's pandemic. I wasn't saying anything about today's pandemic. It was something that happened in 1976. And it's real interesting to watch this stuff kind of play out. But even though that happened, all of those people, nearly 100,000 people, and it was right at 90,000 or so the last time that I looked at it. So it was I wouldn't be surprised if we got over 100,000 before they took it down. And those people have now been exposed to that, and they're asking questions, and they're looking it up, and they're going to find it. They're going to see this story, and those are people who would not have been reached on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Telegram or Getter or anything like that. So It's real interesting. And to be perfectly fair, and I think that this is, a reasonable discussion to have. And again, I'm not telling anybody to get TikTok, okay? If you're on TikTok, please follow me at Casey the Host, Casey. I would appreciate it. But what is important is that if you are there, follow me. If you're not there, I don't think that you need to be on TikTok if you're not interested in it. Okay, I'm not telling you like, hey, this is the new social network for you to go to. We know what TikTok is, okay? TikTok has a lot of filth, but it has a lot of opportunity. That's where the culture is right now, and you have to engage in the culture war. Part of my job is to do that, so that's why I'm doing it. And I share those videos on other platforms, so you don't have to join if you don't want to, but you at least get to see what's happening. So, the last time I had something sort of blow up, it was, like almost 11,000 views, which I thought was a pretty big deal, considering I didn't have, any followers on TikTok at the time. But a couple of things have happened as a result of this video. We now are over the threshold to be able to live stream on TikTok, but I have to apply, and they'll probably say no, but I have to apply, but at least we're there, right? And if we get to live stream on TikTok, that's more people we get to reach and to even if it's only temporary before they take it down. Those are all new people that we bring into the fold. And it's important for people to engage in that stuff if you're interested in engaging in that stuff. But if you're not interested in TikTok, don't get on it. It's not going to be worth your time if you're not genuinely interested in the content that goes there. But I wanted to let you know, they pulled it down, and between 90 and 100,000 views. I did appeal it. They've pulled stuff down before. I've won every appeal on TikTok. But what this does is it throttles any momentum that I have. It's just gone. So as the video is blowing up and continuing to build more and more momentum, it's done, right? They kill that when they pull it down. Even if you get the video restored, it's not going to show up in people's For You pages anymore or anything like that. So that's a tactic that is used by leftists over at TikTok and the Chinese Communist Party to push this whole thing. So, just so you know. But if you're on TikTok, please follow me at Casey the Host. Friendly reminder, we're doing a subscriber giveaway. Silver Fox Art is sponsoring this. Seal of the Usurper of the United States. This is a usurper-in-chief seal, and this video here kind of goes into that. Go to my channel. The link to this contest is in the description. So just go ahead and head over there, watch the video after we're done here, and just leave a comment. As long as you're a subscriber and leave a comment on that video, you will be entered to win. Tomorrow's the last day. Okay, we're going to do the drawing tomorrow, and I'll probably do it during the radio show at some point, maybe after the show when we play the song. Okay, so that'll be tomorrow. But make sure you get over there, subscribe on Rumble, and comment on this video down below so you can register to win that amazing piece. All right, so cool things to get to today, man. Hillary Clinton finally held liable for the Steele Dossier, Trump-Russia collusion hoax, and we're going to talk about Gavin McInnes here, hospital nonsense, and we're really going to make fun of Chris Wallace because Chris Wallace totally deserves it. God, he's a douche. All right, so here we go. Did I say Gavin McInnes? Gavin Newsom. My apologies, Gavin McInnes. I was talking about Gavin McInnes yesterday, and I guess I got him on the mind. I haven't listened to his show in a while, but Gavin Newsom commits a rather glorious self-own in a tweet lamenting book banning. Remember, Casey's rule number 1. When we're talking about liberals, right? Casey's rule number 1. Everything the left accuses the right of doing, they themselves are doing. So when the left goes out there and accuses the right of being, censoring books and book banning and all this other stuff, friendly reminder, the left has been banning books in public education for a long time. And those books weren't books that pushed an agenda. Those books were classics. Oftentimes, those books were banned because of language that was used in the time period the books were written about, even if that language was depicted in a negative way. For example, racial slurs. And a lot of books that attack racism and deride racism, but have those racist terms from our past in them, have been canceled and banned in schools because the modern soft strawberries out there, snowflakes, if you will, don't want to see those words, and those words offend them. Okay? Grow up. Stop being so weak. So they ban those books, even though those books attack slavery and oppose slavery, they still ban them just because they're uncomfortable language. Yet that language is not okay to be in class, but, showing drawings of oral sex to young kids in elementary school, thumbs up. That's good. And how dare moms and dads not want their kids to see that? So this is, first of all, this guy is a blithering idiot, okay? He really does think he's going to be president one day. He's thought this for a long time. Gavin Newsom is a moron. We used to do a regular segment periodically, about once a month or so, on just the dumb crap that Gavin Newsom does. Obviously, I'm based in Michiana, so I cover Indiana and Michigan. I'm on the border here, and also the rest of the country. But California, obviously, when you have somebody this dumb, he's been this dumb since he was the AG there, but he's a moron, okay? He's an absolute moron. So, reading some banned books to figure out what these states are so afraid of. Okay? Boink. You banned all of these books. So, what's going on there? To Kill a Mockingbird. Here we go. Ready? To Kill a Mockingbird was banned in California. Okay? That was banned in California. You can't see the title here. To Kill a Mockingbird banned from California schools. Newsweek, November 17th, 2020. That's what it says at the top there. It's just not in there. Yeah, that was all banned. So, they stop banning books. Here's the Newsweek story for the reference. Middle and high school English teachers in the Burbank Unified School District received the news during a virtual meeting on September 9th. Until further notice, teachers in the area will not be able to include on their curriculum Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, Theodore Taylor's The Kay and Mildred. I've never read that one. I've never even heard of that. D. Taylor's Roll of Thunder, and Hear My Cry. There you go. So, there you go. All those books were banned in California. So, there you go. And again, why? Black parent filed a complaint, argued that they portrayed black people, argued about how they portrayed black people, and it's mostly a white perspective. So, there you go. Can't have that in school, but hey, you go ahead and virtue signal there, Gavin, and talk about how banning books is bad and only conservatives do it. Right. Hospitals are also starting to ask men if they're pregnant. I got news for you, men. You're not. Do we need to say anything else? If you don't have a double X chromosome, you can't get knocked up. Really is that simple, okay? So, don't know what else to say. But if hospitals are asking this actually led, I did a coffee with Casey here that I recorded yesterday, which runs on radio stations in the morning. So hospitals are starting to ask men if they're pregnant. All right, so before receiving treatment for testicular cancer, might you be asked if you are expecting? According to Daily Mail, we might be headed that way. So we'll have to see. I don't need to read you the entire thing. Basically, it's, because we can't just assume who is a man now. Yeah, you can. You still can. It really isn't all that difficult. Are you male, female? Okay. And some people will go, no, it's about man and woman because those are the social gender constructs. Yeah, but even the pro-trans community conflates male and female with man and woman all the time. So, man is the adult male human. Woman is the adult female human. Not hard. I get it. I know. Some of you are like, what? Not hard, okay? If you're a man, you ain't pregnant. Now, this is where things get really interesting. First of all, over the past couple of years, we have learned that your trust in doctors and nurses and things like that in the medical community at large should be tempered. We've learned an awful lot about the medical industrial complex, shall I call it that, over the past couple of years with COVID. They're not very trustworthy. So, and I know that a lot of people knew that about various aspects of healthcare over the past, several decades. I get that. But we have learned that it is a mass problem in the United States. You can't trust them. So this is a nurse in an ICU, okay? So a nurse in an intensive care unit is taking required training. So this is an online test, okay? They were asked this question: obesity is a result of overeating and not exercising, true or false? So they answered true because that's the answer. Incorrect. You did not select the correct response. Yeah, they did. 100%. They selected the correct response. Now, I suppose, theoretically, this could just be a glitch, right? Maybe just the online test is a glitch. We've had that happen in the past, but I'm thinking not. See, fat acceptance has just moved into this realm. And here's the thing. Live your life the way that you want to live your life, okay? I'm down 22 pounds, but I'm overweight compared to what I was pre-COVID. I let COVID, affect my diet. I have a very strict diet before COVID, and I wasn't able to get meat, wasn't able to leave the house, that various things. So it affected the way that I ate. I'm trying to get back, okay? But I'm making some progress, but I'm still overweight. You can see that. And, my face is a little bit round. I got a little double chin and things like that, although I have the chin when I'm thin anyway. So, again, I'm a little overweight too. I understand that, but I'm not obese, obviously. And even if you are overweight, you can be an honest person and say, I'm not the healthiest person in the world, but this is how I want to live my life because I don't want to spend time in the gym. I don't want to eat this other crap that I don't enjoy. I like food. It's a part of who I am. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? All I'm asking you to do is to not pretend you're healthy. That's all, because you're not, and I'm not. And other people who are worse off are not, okay? So let's just not pretend. And it's okay to be honest with yourself that you're choosing to live an unhealthy lifestyle because it's more comfortable and more fun. And that's fine. That's your choice. It is your life. You live your life the way that you want to live your life. But let's not pretend that this crap is okay. This is not okay. All right, all these fat acceptance losers going out there and saying, my doctor fat shamed me. No, your doctor told you how to not die. Okay, that's the reality. So let's just head over to medicinenet.com. The 9 most common causes of obesity. If a person eats more calories than he or she burns, metabolizes, the person gains weight since the body will store the excess energy as fat. If a person eats fewer calories than he or she metabolizes, he or she will lose weight. Therefore, the most common cause of obesity are overeating and physical inactivity, which is exactly what that nurse said when they answered that question. And they were told that was wrong. They even go into the 9 common causes of obesity, okay? Every single one of them, with the exception of medication and disease, is about you overeating and not moving. Every single one. Every one. And the disease and the medication affect your metabolism and your appetite. So we all know what causes it, okay? And different physiologies will get into different ways to most effectively lose weight and balance your body and that sort of thing. A lot of this is based on genetics and where your family's from historically, that sort of thing. For instance, my body does really well with low carb, and other bodies don't do very well with low carb. So it just kind of depends on your physiology here. But generally speaking, this is your baseline, the calorie situation. As long as you got the calorie situation under control, you should be all right. And I know that you all know that, but it just goes to show you that, look, they are trying desperately to change the narrative here, which means we're going to get very, very unhealthy. People are not going to get proper treatment for mental illness. We're going to have rampant child abuse and hormone therapy for children who don't even comprehend sexual identity or any of that stuff because parents want to use them as accessories. And it's going to lead to a very depraved society. That's where we're headed right now, and it's not at all okay. All right, so I know you're here. You saw the title. You're here for Hillary Clinton. Boom, here we go. They're finally held responsible. Look how long it has taken us to finally have some progress in this. Years and years, an entire presidential administration. Look at all of this. It's been like 6 years, guys. More than that. 6 years. This is bonkers that this is finally happening. This should be, of course, the front page news everywhere, but it's not. The Federal Elections Commission has fined the DNC and the Hillary Clinton campaign for lying about the funding behind the Steele dossier. that they used to try to spread the Russia collusion hoax. The dossier was then used to smear Donald Trump and fuel an FBI investigation that surveilled the Trump team. And there's so much with this story that people have forgotten most of it, right? But the news media lied about all of this. They lied about every single solitary speck of it. We all knew what the truth was from the very, very beginning of it. The moment the dossier came out, it was widely panned by the news media as being complete bullcrap. CNN even brought the head of BuzzFeed on their programming and said, you roped us into this because CNN partnered with BuzzFeed. You guys spread fake news. And then suddenly, magically, like a couple of weeks later, all of a sudden CNN was all in on the dossier being true. How do you go from it being on your own programming being fake and not being accurate to now you're backing it 100%? It's just, and then of course they just swept all the other stuff under the rug. I mean, the FBI lied. The FBI committed all sorts of crimes with the FISA court and the warrant system and everything else. The news media pretended that there was no surveilling of Trump and his associates, and constantly were lying about him and that so-called wiretapping and everything else. And it's just amazing how this goes out there. And the news media consistently continued to push the myth, okay, that the dossier was Republican funded. It wasn't. It wasn't. A Republican group started this, but they pulled out extremely early before the dossier had even taken form. Okay, they pulled out way early. It was the DNC and the Hillary Clinton campaign who picked up and formulated that dossier. It was all campaign rhetoric, and it was campaign rhetoric using the intelligence services, Russian intelligence services, of a foreign country, which we're told is supposed to be collusion and illegal, right? Of course, collusion is not illegal, FYI. So this is just, all of these years, you finally get to that point where we can sit here and we can say definitively that the dossier was, in fact, a political hit job that was created by the Hillary Clinton campaign, was funded by her campaign, was also funded by the Democratic National Committee, and it was pure and undeniable. It was political propaganda. That's all it was. There was never any truth to it whatsoever. Nothing in the dossier is accurate. Nothing in the dossier is true. I know that you all know that right now. There's a bunch of people out there, folks, who don't. Speaking of TikTok earlier today, right? When I first got onto TikTok, one of the first videos that I made was I was responding to another one where they were basically saying, who is somebody who was laughed at but ended up being right? And I played a clip of Donald Trump saying that he was being basically spied on. And I did that before all of this new spying stuff happened because it had already been confirmed that he was spied on. It's not up for debate. But you should have seen the comments underneath it. People going, what? What are you talking about? What? And this is before it all blew up, guys, the new Spygate stuff. There were people who did not know that he had been, it had been confirmed that he was being spied on. There were people who didn't know because the news media had been lying to everybody this entire time. So the election agency said that Clinton and the DNC violated strict rules on describing expenditures of payments funneled to the opposition research firm Fusion GPS through their law firm. A combined $1,024,407.97 was paid to the treasurers of the DNC and Clinton campaign to law firms Perkins Coie for Fusion GPS's information, and the party and campaign hid the reason, claiming that it was for legal services, not opposition research, which, again, was exposed years ago, a long time ago. We have known this for a long time, but the FEC is finally getting involved in it. Instead, the DNC's $849,407.97 and the Clinton campaign's $175,000 covered Fusion GPS's opposition research on the dossier, a basis for the so-called Russia hoax that dogged Trump's first term. Boom. There you go. I like how they said first term there, by the way. So this is it finally happened, right? It finally happened. There's at least something on the record at the federal level that says Hillary and the DNC lied to everybody. Okay? I know it's just about the funding mechanism of it, but at least there's something on the official government record that shows that they lied, right? So we're going to talk about CNN. We're going to talk about Chris Wallace, that stupid, smirky, sad little man, coming up in just a minute or two, but I want to go ahead and play a commercial for silverfoxart.com. And again, go to their website, silverfoxart.com. Take a look at their amazing work. This is a little commercial just showcasing some of that work, and we'll be back in a minute. All right, welcome back. Sorry, a little bit of a delay there. So this is Silver Fox Art on Instagram. So it's instagram.com/silver.fox.art. And you can go ahead and go check out some of their great work over there. And just a fantastic, a little bit of his behind the scenes on his shop and his upgrades and all of your Mandalorian stuff right there. I've still got a great Mandalorian piece too that I can bring in, hang on the wall. So you can go see all of his great artwork over there on Instagram. Again, Instagram at silver.fox.art. All right, here we go. You ready for this? I just want to go ahead. No, I don't need any of that. I want to go ahead and, you know what I didn't do? Yeah, never mind. I'm okay. So let's take a look at CNN. All right, so I've talked about this on the radio show, and I know that other people have as well. I'm not just trying to, blow smoke on myself, but CNN's ratings are hot garbage right now. Okay, they're trash. They have been for a while now. The only thing that was keeping CNN afloat was Trump, and CNN's ratings under Trump were not very good anyway. So it's important that people kind of understand the basics of this and the history with CNN and their ratings. Their ratings have been terrible for a long time. After Trump left, though, what little ratings they were getting went away, and they had a plummet of about 90% in viewership. Just absolutely awful. And we've talked about this before, where if I went, a couple of ratings books and my ratings had dropped this much, I would have been fired. There's no way that Federated Media would continue to employ me if my ratings on my radio show dropped that much over a couple of ratings periods. It just wouldn't happen, okay? So CNN's ratings, again, 90% from last year in both overall audience and in the advertiser-coveted 25 to 54 demographic. Okay, now this was updated on January of 2022, just so you understand that this is a relatively recent article. Okay, this is all because Trump's out of office and CNN is terrible. So CNN, in the midst of this huge ratings issue that they were having, okay, they decided to launch a new platform, and that platform was called CNN Plus. Okay. So CNN Plus is basically going to be like the competitor to Fox Nation, okay? So CNN, who has no ratings on their normal programming, felt it was a good idea to launch additional programming and then charge people for it. You can't get people to watch your content for free. Why would they pay to watch your content? Now, of course, CNN is being absorbed by Time Warner. And what I assumed would happen is CNN Plus would be a massive failure, and then Time Warner would start packaging CNN Plus for free with all of their other stuff. So you'll get like, a Time Warner streaming platform or whatever, and CNN Plus will be included. It'll just be added on there, okay? Because they're going to try and force it on as many people as they possibly can. It was a terrible, terrible idea. If you have very popular, personalities, or if your ratings are really good, like Fox, and you have people who you bring in and rotate on a regular basis, and they have, big followings online or something of that nature, but you don't have enough spots for them in your normal programming block, then you create a streaming platform for them. And that's what Fox did. They got tons of contributors who are really popular, and they've got large followings, but they don't have the space for them in a 24-hour period for their own show. So what they did is they created Fox Nation. And in Fox Nation, you let your big personalities do side projects that are niche, and you let all of these popular contributors have a space to continue to create. That makes sense. That's why Fox Nation has been so successful. CNN Plus can't get anybody to watch any of their content. I would almost bet money if you took all of CNN's broadcast content now and wiped it clean and replaced it with CNN Plus, CNN's ratings would go up. There's no reason for CNN to have any kind of an online exclusive app. Not at all. There's just no reason for it. There's no demand for it. Nobody wants it, okay? Your grandma doesn't want it. Your great-grandpa doesn't want it. Nobody is interested in this. And that's one of the things that I was telling everybody from the very beginning. And I know I wasn't alone, but telling everybody, it's like, nobody's watching your free product. Why would anybody watch a product that you charge them $3 for? Why? It's like $2.99 a month, I think. Nobody's going to do that. So I predicted it would be a massive failure, and they're going to try and keep CNN Plus, and they're just going to package it with other things. So people won't be buying CNN Plus. It'll just be included in whatever they're actually buying, and then nobody will watch it. That's the hope is if we just get it into people's houses, eventually people will go over and watch it. And of course they'll advertise their own product within their own product and force people into it over. It's like YouTube does with the Late Show and things like that. Nobody's actually watching the Late Show. Their YouTube views are crap. So what they do is they just force it with, these auto watch advertisements, which artificially boost the views. So CNN Plus, terrible, 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 terrible. They go in there and they talk about how, because, Chris Wallace, big Fox News get, right, to CNN Plus, led some credibility to CNN, which CNN doesn't have now anyway. But Chris Wallace didn't have any clout at Fox, not amongst the right and not amongst the left. So how is somebody who's not popular with anybody going to make you more popular? Didn't make any sense, right? So anyway, they go in and they kind of talk about his advertisement. And so Wallace walks in and he basically walks in. He's like, we have a lot to talk about. And then he walks away. Like, that's the advertisement? Like, what? So they're going over this here on Real Clear Politics, so I don't need to bore you with it. So CNN's new streaming service starring Chris Wallace borders on a poetic collapse. This is Red State. Who could have possibly guessed that masses of people wouldn't jump at the chance to pay extra money to watch the lowest-rated major news network? Apparently CNN couldn't guess because the powers that be decided that launching a streaming service called CNN Plus was a great idea. Unfortunately for them, that gambit isn't working out too well. Even though it's only been out for one day as of this writing, March 29th, the lack of subscriptions has Discovery, CNN's new parent company, talking about absorbing the streaming service and laying off employees. Okay? So I guess if you pay for Discovery Plus, they're going to force this. They'll probably force this on you. CNN Plus employees bracing for layoffs possibly as soon as May amid projections of lackluster sales of new streaming channels. CNN employees say that new streaming channel could be merged into larger Discovery Plus as early as May unless subscriptions pick up. I'm sorry, who predicted that the moment that was advertised? This guy. I told you, they're just going to absorb it, okay? Sorry, I don't mean to keep opening that by accident. They're just going to absorb it and force it onto people because it can't stand as its own damn product. It can't. Nobody wants it, okay? Now, remember when Zucker was gone and we heard that Chris Wallace was throwing hissy fits every single day and There was one tweet that it was Tuesday, and it was Tuesday, and they were joking that Chris Wallace had threatened to quit twice this week, and it was only Tuesday. So, no, this is one of the dumbest decisions ever. Whoever came up with this idea should have been shot in the head. I mean, figuratively, okay, with a Nerf gun, not for real. But I don't know why you would do that. If you're going to try and do CNN Plus, don't do the same failed programming that you're doing on your current network. Do something different. Focus on maybe in-depth stuff and things like that. So what did they do is they went in and like the first thing that they did was attack Murdoch, right? So the first thing that they did, CNN original documentary on the rival network's founder, Rupert Murdoch. Like, come on. Like, your first thing is to just attack Fox News, which is all CNN does anyway. Most of CNN's ratings come from inside the media, with people watching them just then quote how stupid CNN is. That's what's so hysterical about this. Now, of course, recently Chris Wallace opened up about why he could no longer work at Fox News. He said it was unsustainable. He told the New York Times in an interview published on Sunday that he no longer felt comfortable with the programming at Fox, citing commentary by Fox personalities, Tucker Carlson, on the 2020 presidential election, January 6, 2021, riot at the U.S. Capitol. I'm fine with opinion, conservative opinion, liberal opinion, Mr. Wallace said, but when people start to question the truth, who won the 2020 election? Was January 6th an insurrection? I found that unsustainable. And, of course, Chris Wallace got caught lying a lot during the Trump presidency. He continued to lie through the pandemic, okay? A lot of Fox personalities have continued to lie through the pandemic. Looking right at you, Cavuto. Lie, okay? So the fact that Chris Wallace is sitting here saying that January 6th was an insurrection, when by the very definition in a dictionary, it wasn't an insurrection, tells you how trustworthy he really is. And I used to be a guy who respected him. You know, I thought he did good interviews. I didn't always agree with his opinions. I always knew where he stood. But I thought he did good interviews, and I thought he would ask, decent questions. And so I would constantly look at Chris Wallace's stuff. And then I started seeing a change in him. He got Trump derangement syndrome. And that happens with people in politics sometimes. Sometimes you just find somebody that you personally don't like. You get Trump derangement syndrome or Bush derangement syndrome or whatever derangement syndrome it is, and you start lying about that person. And Chris Wallace got caught numerous times lying about Trump, lying about COVID. We used to do these regular segments where I'd be like, whoa, Chris Wallace lied again. What's going on with this guy? We used to do that all the time. So anyway, Wallace complained to Fox News management about Patriot Purge, a Fox Nation documentary hosted by commentator, Tucker Carlson, that aired claims that January 6th riot may have been a false flag operation aimed at scapegoating conservatives. And he says, before I found it was an environment in which I could do my job and feel good about my involvements at Fox, and since November of 2020, that just became unsustainable, increasingly unsustainable as time went on. Now, of course, Patriot Purge looked at actual evidence, real evidence, okay, not fabricated stuff, real evidence that there were FBI agents and assets in that crowd. There were BLM activists and Antifa activists in that crowd. We have them on camera inciting the crowd. It doesn't excuse the behavior of the crowd, but it does show that there was incitement, and it may have come from undercover FBI agents or assets like Ray Epps, okay? We're waiting for that disclosure from the federal government about who Ray Epps is. They now said they will disclose some stuff about him. We've got Black Lives Matter activists on camera encouraging the crowd to break windows and to burst in. We've got them on camera doing that. That's not hyperbole. That's not a theory. That is a definitive fact. They said it doesn't excuse everybody else's behavior, but would the crowd have done what they did if they weren't pushed by these FBI assets and these left-wing activists? Maybe, maybe not. There's nothing wrong with asking that question and pointing out that, hey, some of the people who kind of kicked off the riots in parts of the Capitol, these people don't appear to just be Trump supporters. They appear to be activists and or government operators steering the crowd. Nothing wrong with asking that. Remember, I've told you many times on the shows, we've broken this down for my premium subscribers when I was running the premium service during COVID. One of the things that we did is we broke a lot of the Capitol down. In some parts of the Capitol, it was the protesters that started things, and some of those parts, The people who kicked it off were alleged FBI assets and left-wing activists. The other parts, we saw that there was the police who actually started the violence. Where the crowd was peaceful until the police started the violence, started shooting crowd control devices into them, allegedly causing the death of one. The family's in the middle of a lawsuit there. And then in other parts, they were peaceful and they were let in by the officers. And we couldn't get people like Chris Wallace to acknowledge that all of those things were true. Chris Wallace only wanted to acknowledge that there were pro-Trump supporters who were violent. And Chris Wallace is one of those who's peddling the lie that Trump instigated all of this, which he didn't. And that's 100% lie. So Chris Wallace just shooting his own integrity right down the toilet here in this interview. So anyway, it is important that you understand some basic things about Chris Wallace too, okay? Chris Wallace and Fox News Sunday has long trailed the ABC, CBS, and NBC Sunday talk shows in the ratings and the key 25 to 54 demographic audience, okay? His ratings are trash, okay? Chris Wallace is a ratings disaster. And everybody pretending that it was a big get for Chris Wallace to go to CNN. Everybody, who is a Fox fan, who's a conservative or whatever, is like, finally, he's gone. We don't have to worry about Chris Wallace anymore. You can replace him with somebody who's good, and they have. But his show was terrible in the ratings. It was awful in the ratings. It's just bad. It was so bad. Here, let me just show you this, okay? His last week, okay? Sorry. Look at this. Okay. He's pulling in half of the next show. If you go to the 2020, 2021 season, he's pulling in a third of the next show. He's getting beat out by Snuffleupagus over there on ABC. He's got no ratings, guys. None whatsoever. Chris Wallace was not a big get for CNN. It made no sense. And they were acting like, oh, man, we grabbed the biggest personality at Fox. Chris Wallace was not a big personality at Fox. His show wasn't very good. And a lot of people didn't watch his show. So he was never going to boost or bolster CNN. People at CNN didn't trust him because he was at Fox. And people who watch Fox and are conservative or on the political right don't trust Chris Wallace because Chris Wallace is a liar and a left-wing activist. And they know that. Nobody watches his show. When he was on Fox, nobody watched his show. Here's how bad it is. Now, we joke about CNN because this happened to a couple of personalities at CNN, okay? When you are on CNN and you're one of their main anchors and you'll go on vacation and your ratings go up, you're in trouble. And Chris Wallace leaves, his ratings go up after the show's been taken over. Now, some of you might think, okay, and you'd be forgiven for thinking this, some of you might think that, hey, the only reason that the ratings for Fox News Sunday went up after Chris Wallace left Fox News is because people were kind of curious about what they were going to replace it with, and it's artificially inflated and that sort of thing. I can appreciate why you might think that. It's the exact opposite that's true. Usually what happens when somebody leaves or is fired, there is mass protest within the audience. And it actually takes you a while to recover the people that you lose who are angry with you. Anytime a radio host or a television host leaves and there's some controversy, they're quitting because of politics or they were fired, there's always an audience revolt. And the ratings go down. They don't go up. The ratings go down. And it takes time to build those ratings back up as people stop being angry and they come back and, they're back to the programming and that sort of thing. This is very common in media. So we're all very familiar with how this process works for those of us who are in media. For somebody to quit because of the integrity of the station and for the ratings to go up after they leave tells you nobody wanted him there. The audience wasn't happy with him being in that chair. And then he goes to CNN where nobody's watching CNN anyway. So a guy who's not being watched on Fox goes to CNN where nobody's watching it for a new platform that they're trying to charge people for, and everybody is super shocked that nobody is watching. You don't take a ratings failure put them on a ratings failure network and expect to increase ratings. That's not how this works. If you're going to have something like that, and this is Megyn Kelly, okay? Megyn Kelly was really popular. Megyn Kelly hops over, she switches networks, and what happened? Nobody followed her. Ratings disaster. Megyn Kelly is doing better now as an independent than she was jumping to a different network. And that goes to show you that, while Megyn Kelly was popular, she was popular with the crowd of people that were already there on Fox. And they were not going to follow her to some other network. It wasn't going to happen. Their loyalty was to Fox. Their loyalty was not to Megyn Kelly. Okay. Now, as an independent, she can build some of that good graces back with podcasting and independent projects and that sort of thing. And she's done a good job doing that. But this was never going to work. This was never going to work. If you're going to pilfer somebody from another network, you want that to be a popular personality. And Chris Wallace was not a popular personality on Fox News. Not with the country. Look at those ratings. Okay. And he wasn't with the Fox News base. So there's nothing that he could ever add to CNN that would help CNN in any way, shape, or form. So that's kind of where we're at. So perfect, if you ask me. You're going to sit there, and Shepard Smith, same thing. Shepard Smith goes, he went to MSNBC, right? Shepard Smith goes to MSNBC, ratings disaster. But he got a lot of money for going over there. And Shepard Smith is a guy who had basically checked out of his job probably like 8 years ago. Shepard Smith has been checked out of his gig when he was at Fox for a long time. I was surprised that he renewed that last contract that he had, but they just threw gobs of stupid money at him because anytime you watched his program, you could tell that was a guy who wasn't interested in actually doing the work. He was just sitting there bored. That's all he was doing. And then he goes over to a new network, and it's a ratings disaster. Absolute ratings disaster. But it's always seen as a big deal to get somebody from Fox to defect to one of the other networks. But it never helps those other networks, and it never helps that personality. And it always helps Fox. You're calling people who have no business being at Fox anyway. Now, I did get a question. I was able to see during the commercial break. I did get a question from Susie, and she was asking, how close do you think we are to a convention of states? I don't think we are. Honestly, I don't think a convention of states will happen. And as I've told you before, I'm still not on board with it. I think it could be a bad idea. I think it's more likely that people start shooting at each other before a convention of states happens. And, again, convention of states are something that liberals have been pushing for a long, long time. And conservatives are on that bandwagon right now because they think that they can fix things. A lot of conservatives are being lied to about, nothing bad can happen at a convention of states. Only good things can happen at a convention of states. False. The people who are telling you that are not telling you the truth. Or they themselves don't know enough about how the process would work to be advocating for it. Okay? Very real damage can happen with a convention of states. Absolutely. Now, there's a lot of people who will say, look, we're going to get to a point where we're going to start shooting at each other unless it happens. And, at that point in time, and trust me, I get it, we're climbing that hill. I understand. When we get to that point, then you might be able to get me to go, okay, let's give it a try, but be prepared for it to fail. And you have to understand something. If you don't trust state legislatures to do the right thing, then a convention of states is very, very risky. That's what I've always told people about it. I used to cover the convention of states a lot. Over a decade ago, when I was in Las Vegas, we would have all of their big movers and shakers and big pushers on, and we would have them explain everything, and I would bring up how, hey, Constitution actually says this. You're saying the opposite. This is what the Constitution says. And we would have them on a lot to try, and they would try and promote it, and I would just ask questions. And if they couldn't answer those questions, that should give you pause. But this is the big thing you have to understand. The Convention of States will still be the political class versus you and me. It's not going to be you there, okay? It's going to be the political class that's there. And you have to trust a majority of the state legislatures to get it right. Do you trust a majority of the state legislatures in the United States to get the Convention of States right? I don't. It may get to a point where, hey, look, either the country doesn't exist or we try it, and at that point in time, sure, let's give it a go. But other than that, I'm not there. I'm not there, and it's going to take a lot to get me there, to be perfectly honest with you. So I don't think that we are close. I really don't. We're probably further away from it now than we were 5-6 years ago, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, though. I'm sure that if you talk to the people who are pushing a convention of states, they will tell you the exact opposite, but they won't actually be able to provide you any evidence of it. So I'm not at all confident that we're anywhere close to a convention of states or that it's going to fix the problems of the country. I really don't think so. But maybe I'll be wrong. I'd be thrilled if I were proven wrong. I would be thrilled. But don't be surprised if I'm not. Make sense? All right. I got to get going. I want to have a couple of snacks and do a couple of things before I have the radio show at 3 o'clock Eastern time. If you are watching on YouTube, please click on the links below. We've got, again, a link to the Rumble channel where you can subscribe and watch the radio show this afternoon from 3 until 6 p.m. Eastern time as I do my radio show from 95.3 MNC. And also, there's a link to subscribe to the contest. So if you go there, you can go to the subscriber giveaway on my channel, subscribe, and then go down and comment, and you'll be able to register to win this cool piece of art from silverfoxart.com. And don't forget to follow Silver Fox Art on Instagram. Go to instagram.com/silver.fox.art. And again, this is their handle right there, silver.fox.art. And if you just search for Silver Fox Art up in the search, it will pull them up. And make sure you follow them over there as well. All right, folks, I got